Check. Yeah. Check. Okay, so I think it started with the fact that we're very good friends. And like she said, we met over discussing Buddhism. So we didn't have many arguments. Yeah, I think the point was that it was a story that gripped both our, I think, imaginations. It was a story whose time had come, and it needed to be, we felt it needed to be told. And when we did, research, lots and lots of research, because you don't want to make silly mistakes on a subject like this. So when we did all the research and we found that there was this little gap in history. Why did the INA lose? Why did Subhash Chandra Bose, why was that battle lost? And nobody really, there were no historical accounts of actually why they lost. And that seemed like a wonderful place to kind of bring in this very, very human story. And it's really, I think it's got a larger scope. It's not just about that battle. It's about war. It's about what happens to human beings, what happens to individual human beings during war. It's about what, in a very kind of large sense, the small little crossroads we all face, and then we take the wrong turn. And so there was a lot of, he was flying, I was working. Whenever we were in town together, we would sit, we would talk, we would write separately, come together, discuss, tear it apart, go back. And so it kind of flowed on. And then when everything kind of came together, back to sitting down and the kind of hard work of writing, that took about, it took about almost 2 years.
Wow.
And then it was done, and then there was Ajay.
And then there was Sanjay.
Yeah, but I think that all stories are basically an act of collaboration. And well, I had the best collaborator in the world, right? And she is beautiful, Namita. I think that ultimately that, like she said, the story needed to be told. And which was why the characters and the plot line was so compelling that we just couldn't put our pens down or our keys to a stop. And also, it's about time that we, in this entire narrative of our history, there's everything that we know about Khadi. And I think it's time to salute the contribution of Khaki.
Yes.
So, which is why we needed to tell this story.
So, which is why you chose this particular story?
Yes.
Also, did you choose this because of the gap, or because you are somewhere, you kind of resonated with what the INA stood for? Is that it? What was it about that particular era, which is why you got into?
So, for me, Netaji is a personal hero. We all grew up on that law, on the history, and on all the mysteries surrounding his life and his,
not being there.
My uncle of mine, he was like one of those Netaji fields. He really researched stuff and found out, and I think it was when the idea came that we're going to write about this. It was like I've always wanted to write about this. Always, it was sitting in the back of your head somewhere in your life, and now. So I really believe that we don't choose the stories. The stories choose us.
Yeah.
We are there at a particular point of time when the story needs to be told, and it comes into our lives, and then there's somebody who actually becomes, I think, the vehicle. The characters choose us. We think we create the characters, but the characters kind of creep up onto us, and that's how you actually get down to.
I think for me, great time in India's history, untold story and all that aside, it makes for a crackling good yarn. And that's what I'm always excited by. I like historical fiction, but that which reads like a thriller. So it had all the makings of a story like that, which is why I jumped right into it.
This is your third book, Sanjay.
Yeah.
And your first two have also, your short stories have also won awards. Is everybody know this? but he's won really lovely awards in the UK and the US. So, being a pilot, I understand that it's autopilot sometimes. So how did you get time out from flying and then trying to catch up on your sleep and write all these amazing stories?
Your checks in the mail. Stop it.
I'm not getting a check. I can ask you.
No, but I think,
No, but I'm serious.
Yeah.
Because, it's such a different place. It needs so much of time. It needs so much of, space in your head. So how did you get into writing?
I think I need to write a book about this. Because I now believe, after 25 years of flying, that jet lag does this for you. I think jet lag opens up neural pathways which you never knew existed. And I really have jet lag to thank for it. So, it's the only positive effect of jet lag. So, it's physically tough to write in that space. But I think all my best plot ideas, story ideas have come at a time that I've just come back from a flight and I'm still recovering.
So in that in-between, midnight zone. Nice. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce the book to you in form of 3 tiny little video snippets. So to give you just a feel of what the entire book is about. So please take a look. Can we dim the light?
I'm still Simone Singh, in case you forget next time around. Great for reading. All right, here we go.
Can you see through it?
It didn't work out very well, but thank you. Yes, would you please?
So, that Simone's reading from is when the INA are on the journey, moving towards Kohima, for their tryst with destiny, and they're passing through these little Naga villages, and it's all the different experiences which they go through during that time. She's going to share one of those.
Captain, get me a troop from that Gurkha unit. The one which came over to our side last week? Yes, sir. Sir, for sentry duty? No, I want them for a really special op. Devraj had a wicked grin on his face and his eyes sparkled with mischief. Bands of dacoits had been terrorizing the countryside around Mamit. The retreating British had freed the inmates of the local prison, and these criminals had now taken to rape, pillage, and highway robbery. They were difficult to track as they just melted back into the jungle after their sorties. Devraj had got an idea on how to stop them. He chose 20 of the Gurkhas, all short and slightly built. When he told them what he wanted them to do, they collapsed in laughter. Gurung, their sergeant, turned red. He was very fair and blushed easily. "You're perfect, Gurung. You'll make a very pretty lantal." The men guffawed even louder. Lantal was Burmese street lingo for a sexy girl. Devraj's idea was to dress them up as women and use them as bait. The unit barbers gave them close shaves and reddened their lips and darkened their eyes, and they got into their glangs and salaus, native skirts and jackets. Well, something's missing. So they got hold of a crate of oranges and chucked 2 to each man. Then they were driven off, accompanied by whistles and lewd comments from the rest of the unit. At the local market, they drew a lot of attention, giggling and bargaining loudly. Then, armed with kukris under their salaus and revolvers in their baskets, they boarded a local bus bound for one of the outlying villages. 3 hours after being jostled on the potholed road, the girls hanging on desperately to the shifting fruit under their dresses, the bus was stopped by a group of rough-looking, unshaven men, armed with traditional long knives and shotguns. Licking their lips, they lined up the girls on the side of the road. The leader, grinning through stained teeth, spat out a long stream of tobacco juice as he made a beeline for Gurung, easily the prettiest. As he roughly felt up the sergeant's body, lingering, his fetid breath smelling of cheap country liquor, making Gurung almost gag, his hand fell on a most unladylike appendage. Frowning in puzzlement, he gave it an exploratory squeeze. That did it. The kukri hidden inside Gurung's jacket came out in a bright silver arc, and the man's throat was slit from ear to ear. With a blood-curdling cry of Ayo Gurkhali, Gurung went into what the Gurkhas call divine frenzy. With his pretty features distorted into a snarl of revulsion, he leapt and slashed the next man across the throat, and then pirouetted to plunge his kukri into the next dacoit's eye.